Those who are about to watch this video would be aided in understanding how the soul descends into the objective self, a realm of higher consciousness in man, and how the mind of a participant is being guided by the soul into a higher moral living. This is represented by the image in the background to this video. The green arrow is the descent of the soul from the spiritual realm into the objective self, the elevated level of human consciousness. The gradual change of color from green to pink represents the mingling of pure consciousness to the level of the higher level of spiritual consciousness of the human mind. The black arrow represents the human mind, rooted in lower level of consciousness, changing to blue, which represents a higher level of consciousness to reciprocate to the moral prompting of the soul. Hope this will aid in understanding the deep exploration of Rudolf Steiner in the role of the soul and the mind, as explained in the following video.
Hi, welcome to this video, which is titled Soul's Guiding Light, Unlocking Moral Wisdom. Rudolf Steiner's vision of spiritual realities shaping the human consciousness and ethical freedom is the core message of this particular presentation. When pondering the relationship between the soul, morality, and the mind of man, one can find deep insights within the works of Rudolf Steiner. Steiner, an Austrian philosopher and esotericist, has offered profound explanation on the intricate process by which the soul imparts morality to the human mind. It's a constant prompting agent which lies at the background, which keeps telling you how to have a moral life. His definition intricately weaves the concept of the unconscious, the objective spirit, and the role of the personal individuality in moral behavior. Now let us break it down so that these complex ideas could be understood in simpler terms. This will be able to explain how the soul influences the mind towards morality. For this, the first thing is the soul's descent into the objective spirit. It's a metaphorical definition of a physical descent. Steiner posits that the soul becomes unconscious as it sinks into the objective spirit. To understand this, let us further break it down. Here, what he means by the soul is the spiritual essence of a person, which Steiner believes holds an intrinsic connection to a higher spiritual reality. And the unconscious descent, what Steiner means is the soul becomes unconscious, is implying that the soul engages with the objective spirit, which encompasses the outer material aspects of the existence. It shifts from a state of clear conscious awareness to a more passive subdued state, a modified state. And what is objective spirit? This is the collective expansive realm of spiritual truths and realities that exist independently of individual human perception. Or in simple terms, we think the soul as diving into the vast ocean of spiritual truths, the objective spirit. As it dives deeper, its active consciousness fades to a certain degree, enabling it to blend with these universal truths. The personal individuality and spiritual reality is what next Steiner talks about. He suggests that the personal individuality can connect to the spiritual reality. This means that the individuals, through their unique personal essence, can tap into the broader spiritual world. This connection allows people to experience the universe's spiritual realities, including moral impulses. What is personal individuality? This is the unique essence and characteristic that each person is made of. It defines each individual human being. And what is spiritual reality? This refers to the realm of higher truths and moral laws that govern existence beyond the physical world. When one's physical individuality connects with the spiritual reality, it allows a person to experience a sense of moral impulses, insights and feelings that guide one's sense of right and wrong. So, morality can be considered as a content of the spiritual world. Steiner argues that morality emerges from the spiritual world and becomes part of the human individuality as the consciousness expands and perceives this moral revelation. And that requires moral impulses. These are the guiding principles or intuitions that push individuals towards ethical behavior. And also requires a conscious expansion of the individual. This expansion refers to the awakening or broadening of one's awareness to encompass spiritual truths. And this requires a final perception of this revelation. This means recognizing and understanding moral truths that are revealed through one's interaction with the spiritual world. When a person senses this moral revelation within their individuality, it is essentially a spiritual world's truths intertwining with their consciousness, thus influencing their behavior. And so this experiencing of moral behavior and freedom is the most critical step in this process. One critical point Steiner makes is that when individuals perceive themselves as acting morally, they experience this as interacting with the spiritual world. They are not compelled. Instead, they are free to choose, and they freely act based on their spiritual insights. So it's a reciprocal relationship here. When a person's moral reactions reflect a harmony with the spiritual world's principles, it signifies a reciprocal relationship, a two-way interaction. And here, in choosing morality, freedom is involved. True moral behavior, according to Steiner, is not forced but arises from individuals' free will to act on spiritual inspiration. Now, this whole thing could be looked at as both a sequential and concurrent process of imparting morality. Now, let us delve into these two processes, both sequential and concurrent. How the soul imparts morality to the human mind following Steiner's framework. Let us now go down the sequential path. First is the soul's descent. The soul, by sinking into the objective spirit, becoming unconscious, but intimately blending with universal truths. And it involves the individuality's connection. The personal individuality of a person taps into the spiritual reality, integrating these higher truths into their essence. And that awakens moral impulses. As individuals become conscious of these spiritual truths within their expanded awareness, moral impulses are awakened. And this perception and revelation aids a person to perceive moral truths as revelations from the spiritual world, which guides their thoughts and behaviors. But all this involves action through free will, because that is one little element that is needed from the individual self so that he can act freely. Empowered by these spiritual moral insights, the individual chooses to act morally, experiencing true freedom in their decisions. What's a concurrent process? There's a concurrent blending. The soul, even as it descends concurrently, blends its nature with the objective spirit without losing its essence. It's an ongoing interaction between the person's individuality, constantly interacting with the spiritual reality, continuously receiving moral impulses. And simultaneous awareness, it's a two-way process again. The simultaneous broadening of consciousness allows for a conscious perception of moral truths. And it's an uninterrupted revelation within the self. As the individual engages with the day-to-day life, moral revelations from the spiritual realm are continuously perceived. So, here the fundamental thing, as I mentioned earlier, is an ongoing free will in action. At every moment, the individual acts out of free will, guided by the ever-present moral impulses from the spiritual world. Now, in conclusion, though this is a very difficult, nuanced understanding of morality and how this is imparted by the soul to the self, here we can understand how the soul imparts morality to the human mind as explained by Rudolf Steiner, because his thoughts are very deep, and he actually defines this process in his book, Philosophy of Freedom. By simplifying these intricate ideas, we can appreciate the beauty of Steiner's vision, where morality is a living, dynamic experience emerging from the deepest spiritual connection within each individual, guiding them to act ethically out of freedom. Morality in this framework is not merely a set of rules, but a deep personal revelation from the spiritual world, experienced within the human soul. This complex yet profound process highlights the intrinsic freedom individuals have in choosing to act morally, driven by the spiritual insights and truths. Well, this is what I wanted to share with you. Though this is an intricate process explained at a more physical and our mental level, this can give you an expanded awareness of how we are constantly being guided by moral impulses from the spiritual world so that we can act out of it in a moral and ethical way. Thank you for watching and listening, and have a great life.